Responsibility is the gateway to power until you take full responsibility for every part of your life. Your finances, your relationships, your emotions, your time, you will always operate at a fraction of your true potential. Most people are not weak because life broke them. They are weak because they outsourced their power. They gave someone else control over how they feel, how they live, and what they do. And when you hand over responsibility, you hand over authority. You cannot change what you will not own. That's why some people stay stuck, not because they can't change, but because they refuse to take responsibility for where they are. Responsibility isn't the same as blame. See, a lot of folks confuse the two. They say, it's not my fault. And they think that excuses them from action. No, it might not be your fault. You didn't choose the household you were born into. You didn't choose the trauma. You didn't choose the betrayal. But even if you didn't choose it, you're still responsible for what you do next. If someone handed you a broken set of tools, as it helps us, you can't sit on the porch and cry about it forever. At some point, you've got to pick up what you've got and get to work. It's not about what broke you. It's about what you build now. When you embrace responsibility, something powerful happens. You stop waiting for things to change and you start becoming the change. You stop reacting and you start creating. Most people walk around in reactive mode. They live in emotional response to everything. They say, well, I couldn't help it. She made me angry. No, she didn't. She revealed your anger. He made me feel small. No, he revealed your insecurity. Taking responsibility means no one controls how you feel, I think, or how you act, unless you give them that power. The truth is, when you refuse responsibility, you become a prisoner to your circumstances. But when you embrace responsibility, you unlock the ability to change your circumstances. The moment you say, this is on me, is the moment you reclaim your authority. You're no longer just hoping for a better life. You're constructing it. You're not just wishing for opportunity. You're preparing for it. That shift from hoping to building, from blaming to owning, is what separates those who succeed from those who sit in the same place year after year. Responsibility is the highest form of freedom, because when you take ownership, you no longer depend on anyone else to give you permission to grow. You're not waiting on validation, on help, or on the stars to align. You don't need perfect timing. You create momentum with imperfect tools. That's what responsibility does. It activates every dormant gift inside of you. And you realize that the power to change your life is not out there. It's in here. It's in your habits, your daily decisions. And let me tell you something, responsibility is not always comfortable. It's easier to blame your boss than admit you've been coasting. It's easier to blame your past than confront your patterns. But comfort is the enemy of growth, and growth doesn't come to the passive. It comes to those who say, I'm not going to live one more year in a story that makes me powerless. There's a reason why the most successful people don't have time to blame. They're too busy building. They understand that responsibility is a tool. Every time you say, I own this, you gain leverage, you gain clarity, you gain focus. You stop asking why life is hard and start asking, what can I do today that moves me closer to where I want to be? That shift, just that one shift, is enough to change everything. People who operate from responsibility wake up differently. They plan differently. They speak differently. They lead differently because they know they're not waiting for a hero. They are the hero. They are the ones building, risking, deciding, executing. And the more responsibility they carry, the more power they walk in, not because life easier, but because they got stronger. See, the world will keep giving you reasons to give up your power, distractions, drama, disappointments. But those are all tests, not tests of your circumstances, but tests of your ownership. The moment you say, this is mine to lead, mine to solve, mine to change, you shift from powerless to purposeful. And in that moment, you're not just changing your life. You're building a life that can't be shaken by external forces because it's built on internal authority. The waiting room is a trap. It's the place where dreams go to die quietly. It's that mental space people live in when they say, I'll start tomorrow, maybe next year, or when the time is right. It's disguised as patience, but it's really paralysis. The waiting room feels safe because nothing is required of you there. No risk, no failure, no exposure. But the truth is, the longer you wait, the weaker your belief becomes. Momentum is built through movement, not intention, as it helps. Most people aren't lazy. They're stuck in a cycle of waiting for some perfect condition that doesn't exist. They're waiting for someone to believe in them before they believe in themselves. Waiting for approval before they take action. Waiting for motivation to magically appear before they move. But motivation doesn't come first. Movement does. You don't get motivated and then act. You act and then you get motivated. Action creates energy. The lie is that clarity comes before action. No, clarity comes from action. You want to get clear about your purpose. Start doing something. You want to feel passionate again. Start producing something. Helps us. Waiting, feeling before the movement is like sitting in a cold room and waiting to feel warm before turning on the heat. People say they're waiting on a sign. The sign is your dissatisfaction. The sign is your restlessness. The sign is your desire for more. But instead of moving, people talk. They plan. They read. They consume content hoping one day something clicks. And 5 years pass. 10 years pass. They're still in the same place with the same ideas, the same goals, and the same excuses. The waiting room is a slow death. You don't feel it at first. You just feel safe. But over time, the pain of inaction becomes heavier than the fear of failure. When you wait, you give time permission to steal from you. Time is a currency that never refunds. Every day you spend waiting is a deposit into someone else's dream. Every day you sit still is a day you lose creative momentum, emotional strength, and confidence. Waiting trains you to live in hesitation and helps us, and hesitation kills execution. The longer you hesitate, the harder it becomes to move. Waiting is not rest, it's rust, and rust eats away at potential. The longer you sit, the more corroded your vision becomes. Some people are waiting because think they're not ready. But readiness is not a prerequisite for starting. Starting is what makes you ready. Readiness is a myth. You weren't ready when you learned how to walk, but you took a step. You weren't ready when you got behind the wheel the first time, but you learned as you went. You weren't ready for adulthood, but here you are. Readiness isn't real. Willingness is. Are you willing to move even if you don't feel prepared? Are you willing to show up even if you're scared? Are you willing to make mistakes even if others are watching? The waiting room is where people become spectators of their own lives. They watch others win, succeed, and progress, and they convince themselves those people had it easier, had more help, or were lucky. But what those people really had was courage to move while others sat still. They didn't wait for certainty. They created results in the middle of uncertainty. They didn't wait for applause. They moved in silence. They didn't wait for someone to tell them it was okay. They gave themselves permission to begin. Waiting feels spiritual to some, like they're being patient. But patience is only a virtue when it's paired with action. If you're praying for a door to open but never walking toward it, you're not patient. You're passive. Waiting is often a disguise for fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of discomfort. So people wrap it in noble language to make it sound holy. I'm just being wise. I'm just waiting on God. But if you really believed what you say you believe, you would take a step. Faith doesn't stay in the boat. Faith walks on water. You have to understand that while you wait, the world doesn't pause. Someone else is launching, building, writing, creating. The opportunity you think will always be there may not be. The window you assume will reopen may close for good. Life doesn't pause until you're ready. The clock is ticking whether you move or not. The only difference is whether you'll spend your days, build your purpose, or watching others live theirs. The waiting room doesn't protect you from failure. It guarantees regret. You won't look back and be proud of how long you hesitated. You'll wish you had started sooner. You'll wish you had trusted your gut when you felt the spark. You'll wish you had used what you had instead of waiting for more. The cost of waiting is invisible at first, but it compounds. It grows interest in missed opportunity, delayed growth, and faded dreams. The more you wait, the more you teach your mind to stall instead of solve. You don't become bold by thinking. You become bold by doing. Faith without work is dead. You can believe all day long, but if you're not building, if you're not moving, if you're not acting, your belief is just noise. Real faith shows up in what you do, not what you say. People talk about dreams, visions, and goals, but when you look at their life, there's no evidence of movement. Faith isn't fantasy. Faith is not waiting around hoping something magical happens. Faith is obedience in motion, helps us. It's the decision to take a step when you don't have the full picture. It's trusting that what's in your hand is enough to start with, even if it doesn't look like much. A lot of people are praying for a breakthrough, praying for opportunity, praying for abundance, but they haven't picked up the tools in front of them. They haven't taken one step toward the thing they say they believe for. You can't ask for God to bless your business if you haven't even written the plan. You can't pray for a stage if you haven't prepared a message. You can't ask for a harvest and never plant a seed. Faith is not lazy. Faith is not passive. Faith is a force that drives you into action even when the odds look stacked against you. Faith is what you do when no one is watching. It's the discipline you build when there's no applause. It's the work you put in when the results are slow. Most people quit too early, not because they didn't believe, but because they expected faith to be a shortcut instead of a process. Faith isn't a magic trick. It's a mindset and a muscle. And muscles grow through resistance. If you never feel pressure, you're not exercising faith. You're just fantasizing about success. Real faith will have you showing up when your bank account is low, when your energy is drained, when your support is silent. Because you know the vision is real, even if the results haven't shown up yet. People love to quote faith-based phrases, but they forget the work behind them. Belief is foundational, but action is transformational. It's not enough to believe you can do great things. You've got to wake up and put your hands to the plow. You've got to write, call, build, study, serve, create. Not once, not twice, but every day. That's what proves your faith. Not what you post, not what you promise, but what you practice. What you consistently commit to, even when it feels like it's not working. When you're operating in faith, you understand that preparation is a sign of expectation. If you really believe something's coming, you get ready for it. You make room. You create space. You prepare the systems. You build the structure. You don't wait for the door to open before you start preparing. You prepare because you know the door is coming. You act like it's already done. You move like the opportunity is already yours. That's what faith looks like. And that's where people get stuck. They believe their mouth, but doubt with their movement. They want God to move first, but often He's waiting for you to move first. He's waiting for you to use what He already gave you. You don't need another sign. You don't need another confirmation. You need to take a step and then take another one, because with every step, your faith is verified, it's tested, it's proven. You start to realize that the work you put in is not just building the dream, it's building you. The process is shaping your mindset, sharpening your discipline, and stretching your capacity. That's why you can't skip the work. The work is the way. You grow through the grind. You evolve through the execution. And when the results finally show up, it's not a surprise, it's confirmation. Faith doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It creates progress in imperfect moments, helps us. If you're waiting for everything to line up before you act, that's not faith. That's fear dressed up as wisdom. Faith steps out when there's uncertainty. It shows up when the vision is bigger than the resources. It builds when the budget is tight, as it helps us. Speaks when the voice is trembling. It leads when no one else believes. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. Not just the kind that talks about mountains, but the kind that picks up the shovel and starts digging, even if no one else is around. You cannot outsource your obedience. No one can do the work for you. You can be inspired by others, mentored by others, supported by others, but you still have to take the steps. You still have to write the book, make the call, take the class, invest the money, launch the project, and you do it even when there's no guarantee. That's what separates wishers from workers. One believes it could happen. The other behaves like it will happen. Faith without work is dead because it doesn't produce. It doesn't multiply. It doesn't move. Faith that moves mountains is faith that moves feet. Skill isn't enough. You need grit. Talent may open the door, but grit keeps you in the room as it helps us. You can be the most gifted person in the building, but if you don't have the consistency to keep showing up when it's hard, your gift will collect dust. Too many people depend on raw ability and wonder why they never break through. They think talent is the secret sauce, when in reality, it's endurance. It's the unwillingness to quit, the decision to keep moving forward even when the applause stops, even when the progress slows, even when the pressure increases. Grit is the grind that doesn't need an audience. Some of the most successful people in the world didn't get there because they were the best at what they did. They got there because they refused to quit when others gave up. Grit isn't glamorous. Grit is waking up at 5 a.m. to do what most won't. It's making the call, sending the email, doing the reps, writing the page, recording the video, even when the results aren't showing yet. Grit is persistence without visible payoff as it helps us. It's believing in the harvest while you're still digging in the dirt. It's understanding that greatness is forged in obscurity, not fame. The truth is, skill will get you attention, but grit builds legacy. Because there will be moments when talent doesn't carry you. You will hit walls. You will face resistance. There will be days you don't feel inspired, where everything in you wants to rest, to shrink, to delay. That's where grit takes over. That's where the decision to commit over and over again becomes the thing that separates you from the crowd. You can have the best plan as it helps us. The right strategy and the perfect opportunity, but if you don't have the internal resolve to push through when it's tough, none of that matters. Grit is the character behind the curtain. It's who you are when nobody's checking, when nobody's affirming, when nobody's cheering. It's the self-talk you preach to yourself when the metrics drop, when the sales stall, when the energy is low. Grit is internal fuel. It's not borrowed from others. It's built from within. And the only way to develop it is to get uncomfortable, to be willing to endure discomfort, disappointment, and delay without letting it break your pace. Some people treat every obstacle as a sign to stop. Grit sees it as confirmation to keep going. The reason grit matters more than skill is because challenges are guaranteed. Life is not a smooth path. Business is not predictable. Growth is not a straight line. Skill may make things easier in the beginning, but it doesn't make them sustainable in the long run. Grit is what kicks in when easy is no longer an option. It's the thing that says, I'm going to do it tired. I'm going to do it uncertain. I'm going to do it misunderstood, but I'm going to do it anyway. That mindset will carry you through seasons that talent alone can't touch. The world has no shortage of talented people who never reached their potential. People who were great starters but poor finishers. People who had genius level ability but never developed discipline. Grit is what turns intention into execution. It's what turns potential into production. It's what makes the difference between a dreamer and a doer. You can dream big, but if you don't have the tenacity to keep pressing when progress is slow, the dream remains a fantasy. Grit is the long obedience in the same direction. It's the unsexy repetition of doing the work until the work works. Most people underestimate the power of small, repeated efforts. They want quantum leaps, but grit understands that daily deposits build compound growth. You may not see results today, but you're laying brick after brick, and one day you'll look up and realize you've built something unshakable. Grit doesn't need to feel good to do good. It doesn't wait on motivation. It operates on mission, doesn't look for shortcuts. It masters the fundamentals. That's why gritty people rise, because they don't quit when it gets boring, painful, or delayed. They keep swinging the hammer until the wall falls. In every industry, in every field, as it helps us, it's not just the most talented who rise to the top. It's the most consistent. Helps. It's the people who are willing to be bad before they're good, the ones who are willing to learn publicly, fail publicly, grow publicly. They don't hide from hard. They lean into it. They don't expect perfect conditions. They move through messy beginnings. Grit gives you permission to be imperfect while still progressing. It gives you strength to withstand the valleys and still climb the mountain. Because at the end of the day, skill might impress people, but grit is what earns respect. You don't what you want, you get what you're committed to. Wanting is easy. Everyone wants something. Everyone wants success, freedom, wealth, impact, recognition. But desire alone is weak. Desire without commitment is nothing more than a wish. And wishes don't change lives. Commitment does. The problem is we live in a culture addicted to wanting. People talk about their goals, write them on vision boards, speak affirmations, and listen to motivation all day long. But talk isn't commitment. Motivation isn't commitment. Commitment shows up in behavior, not in feelings, as it helps us. It's what you do on the days you don't feel like doing anything at all. Commitment means showing up when it's inconvenient, as it helps us. It means doing what you said you do long after the excitement you felt when you said it is gone. It's the ability to stay locked in when results are slow, when progress is hard to measure, when nobody's clapping. Commitment means you don't just do the work when it feels good. You do the work because you made a decision, and that decision doesn't need your emotions to co-sign it. That's where most people fail. They're emotional about execution. They need hype. They need to feel inspired. But the most committed people don't rely on feelings. They rely on discipline. They don't need ideal conditions because they've already decided there's no turning back. Commitment means you eliminate the exit plan. Helps us. You stop treating your goals like optional experiments and start treating them like non-negotiable missions. There's no, I'll try. There's only, I will. You can't kind of want it. You can't sort of chase it. You either burn the boats or stay on the shore. The world doesn't reward intentions. It rewards execution. And execution only happens through consistency. Commitment is consistency in motion. It's the compounding effect of doing the right thing repeatedly, long after the newness wears off. The results you're looking for live on the other side of repeated decisions, not just bold declarations. Most people think their problem is lack of opportunity or lack of support. But more often, the real issue is lack of commitment. They want the outcome, but not the process. They want the harvest, but not the planting. They want the applause, but not the sacrifice. The moment things get hard, they're quick to renegotiate with themselves. But committed people don't need comfort to continue. They build the capacity to work through discomfort. They don't shrink in the face of challenge. They expand. They lean into the resistance because they understand resistance is part of the path to reward. Commitment transforms identity. When you commit, you don't just change what you do. You change who you are. You start acting like the person who already has what you want. You wake up differently. You use time differently. You say no to distractions more easily. Your decisions align with your destination. There's power in deciding. Because once you decide, your mind goes to work finding ways to support that decision. But until you truly commit, your mind finds ways to justify delay, excuses, and comfort. Commitment cuts off plan B. It focuses all your energy in one direction. That's why people who are truly committed often outperform those who are more naturally talented, because their focus creates momentum. Commitment will cost you. It will cost you comfort, laziness, approval, distractions, and the luxury of blaming others. But it will reward you with growth, resilience, clarity, and results. The truth is, people admire commitment because deep down, they know how rare it is. It's easy to quit. It's easy to start and stop. But when you commit, helps us, you send a message to your future self that you are trustworthy. That when you say something, you follow through. That kind of internal credibility builds confidence because you know you can count on you. Commitment also creates opportunity. When people see that you're serious, when they see that you're not just chasing trends, but building something real, they start to open doors. You attract the right mentors, the right partners, the right platforms. Not because you begged for it, but because you earned it. People want to help builders, not talkers. They want to partner with producers, not procrastinators. That's the power of commitment. It magnetizes what you're prepared for. It's not about being the smartest or most talented as it helps us. It's about staying in the game longer than others are willing to. It's about showing up after most have already left. It's about doing the simple things well every single day. The world respects relentless. It honors endurance because commitment in the end is proof of belief. You can't say you believe in something and then quit when it gets tough. Your actions reveal your convictions. And if your goals matter, then your commitment must be louder than your excuses. You can't wait for confidence to act. You build confidence by acting. Too many people are sitting on the sidelines of their potential, waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel sure, waiting to feel qualified. But confidence doesn't show up fully formed. It's created in motion. It's forged in the fire of doing, failing, adjusting, and doing again. If you're waiting for confidence before you take the step, you'll wait forever. Because confidence isn't a prerequisite to execution, it's a byproduct. The people who look fearless aren't fearless. They've just developed the muscle of taking action even while they're afraid. That's the real secret. Doing it scared. Confidence is not about perfection. It's not about knowing everything. It's about trusting yourself to figure things out. It's the internal belief that no matter what comes, you'll adapt, you'll grow, you'll overcome. That belief doesn't come from theory. It comes from experience. Every time you face discomfort, every time you push past resistance, every time you step into unfamiliar territory, you collect proof. You start building a library of evidence that says, I can do hard things. And the more evidence you stack, the louder that inner voice gets. The voice that says, I've been here before. I handled it. I can do it again. People think confident people were born that way. They weren't. They were just willing to be bad at something long enough to get good. They were willing to look foolish in the beginning so they could become powerful in the process. Confidence is earned through repetition. The more you show up, the more you grow. The more you speak, the clearer your voice becomes. The more you lead, the stronger your presence gets. Confidence is cumulative. It builds brick by brick. But the first brick is courage, the willingness to start before you feel ready. That's where most people get stuck. They're waiting to feel like the version of themselves they envision. But that version is on the other side of action. You be confident by doing the thing you fear, not by avoiding it. You don't read your way into confidence. You don't affirm your way into confidence. You act your way into it. That's what separates the people who grow from the ones who stay stuck. The difference isn't talent, intelligence, or even opportunity. It's the decision to act, to move, to try. Action breeds clarity. Clarity breeds confidence. If you want to be confident on stage, you have to speak when your voice shakes. If you want to be confident in business, you have to launch when it's imperfect. If you want to be confident in leadership, you have to step up even when you doubt yourself. Confidence grows when you stretch. It shrinks when you stay safe. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you reinforce the lie that you can't handle more. Every time you delay, you make fear stronger. But every time you move forward, even a little, you weaken fear's grip. Confidence isn't loud. It's not about showing off or dominating. Real confidence is quiet assurance. It's the ability to stand in your purpose, own your value, and speak your truth without apology. And that kind of confidence only comes when you've faced your limitations and pushed past them. When you've battled doubt and kept going. When you've failed publicly, didn't let that stop your progress. Confidence is the result of resilience. It's built in the gym of grit, the battlefield of mistakes, and the classroom of experience. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. Growth demands it, as it helps us. The version of you that's confident doesn't arrive through wishing or waiting. It's built through repetition and risk. You don't become confident by hoping people will believe in you. You become confident when you start believing in yourself enough to take the first step and then another and another. You stop seeking validation and start creating results. And as those results stack up, so does your confidence. Stop rehearsing the worst case scenario. Start moving toward the best case outcome. Your mind is powerful. It will believe what you feed it most. If you keep feeding it hesitation, it will learn to doubt. But if you feed it action, it will learn to trust. Trust your grind. Trust your ability to grow. Trust the process. Confidence isn't an identity, it's a habit. And like any habit, it's built through choice. The choice to keep showing up. The choice to keep trying. The choice to do hard things until they become your new normal. You're not waiting for confidence. You're building it brick by brick with every step you take, every obstacle you overcome, every promise you keep to yourself. That's how confidence is created. Not through the absence of fear, but through the mastery of it. Not by standing still, but by moving forward anyway.